Okay, ready?
Oh, sitting
And
for
we're recording.
We're live.
All right, here we go. With that, we can dive right into the files.
The file folders.
The file folders, yeah. Chuck, I love to give you the way the money goes. I'm happily in the green folder, so. There you go. So I'll give you a pair of them. Hold on. Okay.
When you get a chance to look at the details, look at the grounds maintenance one. I'm wondering, looking at it, I think we may have some of the same expenses next year, which means our budget of $2,000 may be a little low.
And this is in regards to,
Cleanup, mowing, trimming,
oh, is that right on the,
yeah, around the buildings here and, area and that whole thing.
some of the cost
Yeah.
we paid was to the bridge though, cleaning the bridges.
Oh, okay, doesn't show up on here.
And that would go under the budget because
Was
we
that
put
part of the
in,
municipal one? Look at, when you look at your line item, you get to it.
okay,
I'm just, you know, I'm looking at it, it would seem reasonable that like, okay, we could probably get the same level of expenses again, so.
all right. And I'm going to mention to you gentlemen that the permit for Pine River Road, the follow-up with DES, it's still, a portion that's still to come. I did have that the other day, and I reached out to HEB and did discuss it, because this is going, Chris Forney is going to be speaking with Laurie Summer over at DES on some follow-up items here, which is pretty minimal to cover this. So I did talk to him, that's being handled, and it's just still in regular process. When we go through this, I wouldn't get too concerned just yet. Can Audrey, perhaps you tell me what this is, because I'm really not sure where this is coming from.
I don't know how that got back in the folder either. I don't know what that is either. I was gonna ask the ladies this morning. So, do you wanna put it to one side?
Yeah.
I had no clue what that was.
Yeah, I didn't know if this was at our property or,
No, I thought I had put it to one side because I didn't know.
yeah, it came with the county stuff last week.
No.
Anyway, alrighty.
I'll put that required ones in there.
Oh, okay. Short work of that.
Not too bad.
Big amount. Big amount.
It was
It's
a
a county
county.
payment,
It's like
and then
225.
payroll, beyond that, it's like peanuts.
The county should have been about 203, 204,000.
225.
Yeah, 225.
25. Oh, so that's, wasn't last year's. All right. That's interesting. Okay, so this is just a renewal on the Lakes region from what I can tell.
Yeah.
I'll let that go around so Chuck has a chance to see it and take action on that. Okay, that's good. Only 1 centimeter for last week? That's not even possible.
Guess you just need more to do.
Last week was a record breaker. Short, sweet.
Do we know if Stillings Lane has gotten any attention yet?
The weather said it was plowed at 9:30 yesterday morning.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. It said it wasn't, oh, yeah, all right, there.
Complaint things to do that get commenced on a routine basis.
You sign that, or you sign that, or we all in it, or what?
I'd sign it if you gentlemen are all set with it. Yeah, I thought so. Part of the problem at Stillings Lane, so that we're all on the same page, is the plow trucks go down Ironworks, they do this side of town, they carry sand, salt and, on those standers. And when they go down these roads and address those, that truck is used with that configuration. An additional truck makes a special trip to Skilling's Lane, a smaller truck, because the property owner, Mr. Jones, has in the past requested that his road not be salt not be used on his road because of something to do with his well, I believe is the issue. So that truck works somewhere else in town, and if there's any breakdowns or disruptions in service, which I know some of the trucks had issues this storm, they had a couple of breakdowns. First stormitis, I call it, been there. So due to that special request, yes, there's going to be the occasional delay, and there's nothing that's going to be done about it. There's nothing that can be done about it. There's not going to be a one truck assigned to that one road. It's just going to have to wait because of the nature of the request and the lack of traffic on the road. It's just a dead end that doesn't service a lot of folks, so the priorities are other places. So there's nothing to be done. We can take those requests and those complaints and file them away and be conscious of them, and we can mention to the contractor, which I have done in the past. And if there's anything that can be done to expedite, I'm sure it will be taken care of. But the short answer is there's probably not a lot will be changed. That is I gotta organize some of this madness. This Carroll County bill, that's interesting. Does that represent some of the increases that they put forward? Because that was 225 wasn't what was budgeted for when the state's billing came out on our tax rate, I don't believe, unless that is on the new tax rate.
I don't remember.
Maybe it is on the new tax rate. All right, I'll check it.
Yeah, that, the contract we received, or the budget we received that they went over last night, there should have been something similar from last year, so I would have to find that.
Yeah, I'll get that. Well, off our tax breakdown, it'll have it in the latest tax breakdown, which I probably even have with me. So dig into it, and maybe that's reflective of this year. I think it was on our budget, that we had budgeted for about $21,000, less than that from last year going to now, so. Because I would have thought that would be on next year's payments, but maybe not. I haven't followed how the county gets paid, what year it is, because it's fluctuated like $1,000 and it's never really come to my attention before, but when it jumps over $20,000, it got my eye.
Well, it seems like this would have been, last year's, it wasn't the one we just received, because that budget is still in review.
Yeah, so,
And that bill has been in the folder saying to wait until December 8th to pay it.
this doesn't, something's not adding up for me here. The county, the county shouldn't have been listed for that amount. I don't believe. Yeah, it's 204,313. So 204,313 was Carroll County on the 2020 operating budget. So I'm a little concerned where $21,000 or so in additional costs came from on this. Definitely would like to get some clarification on that. Well, you never know. Could be an error somewhere. Otherwise, at least, if it isn't, we'll understand why we're gonna have a shortfall of 20 grand.
So Mike, is HEB on this?
Yeah, that's what I was discussing a little earlier.
Okay.
Lori Summers is in that one. Gal at DES I talked to before, she handles some of the grants. And she's gonna be, HEB, Chris is gonna talk to Lori about the questions posed in there. There's
Okay,
only a couple of items to explain why the configuration is gonna be used for the additional culverts for the overflow. And hopefully that, all those questions will be answered to her satisfaction.
okay.
I did call him up to see if we needed to provide the northern side of the culvert. There's a request in there for who the property owner is.
Yeah,
It doesn't specify the lot, but looking at the tax map, it clearly outlines that we would be the property owner, that is, we being the town of Effingham. So I reached out to Chris to make sure he had all that
do we need to
information.
sign something saying, yep, we're the property owner and?
No, not in this case, I wouldn't think, but he seemed to feel that they had all the information they needed, and there was nothing needed from us at this time. That's why I wanted to bring it to your attention, that everything seemingly is on track until it isn't. I'm assuming the Minuteman Press was dual postage and office supplies, so that was for the tax bills.
Correct, and Deanna coded it.
All right. So going back to 2017, I would say, I remember that we had 3 part-time officers at one point in time. I see 3 part-time officers participated in last week's patrols, plus we have Lieutenant Duchesne. So I think we're probably pretty close to the peak operations anyway.
It's nice to drive down the road now with 73 cruising driving that same road in the opposite direction. It's like, okay, they're out there.
And
Compared to behind you.
No, not coming at me.
And I think those efforts are just going to increase some, the conversations I've had with Lieutenant Duchesne, we'll see that happening. Yeah, vouchers, benefits. Get back here.
The request to shut off the 12 streetlights. I didn't see that, was that in there?
I guess that's what I'll be touching on that here, as we
So I see in here that we had multiple advertisements for the Elm Street Bridge closure. And I know we always have people that have issues that they don't have advance notice. I had been called because there was no notice of signs. We did not have great signs, but the person that called me drove right by the sign that Tom put out. So it's like, I can't make you read it. I can't make draw your eyes to it. We are going to get a sign packages that are going to be greatly updated for the town. We've overspent that budget already, so we're hoping to deal with some of that. But I guess we probably should point to where our notices are found, which is in the Conway Daily Sun. And maybe people are just not realizing that that's the paper to check for town business. The ZBA and planning board notices go in there, notices from this board go in there. So
As well as the website, you know, and also on the outside of this building.
the website and posted outside here, and most likely at the library, conditions allow, being the third place. Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning that the Conway Daily Sun does carry our notices. People are having difficulty locating where those are, now you know, hopefully.
signs were actually moved twice to conform to what was going on. So, full sight.
All right. So Things are done and moving on. I guess we're ready to jump right into our normal activities, which will be approving the manifest at the amount of $253,771.95. I will make a motion to approve. I have a second.
For a second,
All right, all in favor?
all right,
Aye.
And now an aye.
I still have this whole meeting, so.
oh, wait, you still going through it?
Oh, you do? I'm so sorry, Tom. I thought you got that.
No, no.
Apologies.
We'll be down again.
We'll hold on to that, case pending any changes, so we'll revisit that if necessary. I'm in a hurry to get out of here today, this is Joe.
From back in July too.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, thank you. I don't want to
I
know.
wanted to check something. It threw into the video by mistake.
The reimbursement of the new employee.
Yeah,
The receipt is more than the reimbursement.
Oh, okay.
I think you see on the paper attached to it, says $75.
Oh, okay. Yeah, up here. Thanks.
Gary, I know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good though. Keep trying to tell them, it's like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, I didn't do it.
be careful what you think.
Okay.
I got a complaint. My free pen that I got from that pile of things over there isn't writing. That's just wrong. It was free. I really expected things to be something. No, it's
You get what you pay for.
not. So over there.
So that mean the meeting's over?
Ooh, somebody's in a bigger rush than I am. All right.
Let's start this again. Now we
So
got three of us ready to vote.
I will restate for the record my motion to approve the manifest in the amount of $253,771.95.
And Chuck Fuller will second.
All right, all in favor?
Fuller, aye.
Hal and I. Moving on. Approval of the minutes from December 1st of 2020, which is our regular session meeting minutes. I shall make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
Fuller, aye.
Hal and I, sorry, I had a little something there. Nothing to really report in the signature folder, although I would say we do have something to sign in here, which is with the Humane Society, West Region Humane Society.
Sorry, I missed that.
Apparently, she can only read your mind.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe that.
So, yeah, we're all decided we're fine with continuing our contracted services with these folks.
Yep.
All right.
We get our money's worth and then some.
Oh, look, I did the signature folder twice on the agenda. That's why I didn't miss it, I just duplicated it.
Today is the 8th, is it not?
Was this morning?
Yes.
I'm gonna stay with December too. It's the 2021 that's gonna get me soon enough. All right, that is so with that, we have review of the mail folder, which has the fire chief's report in it. A lot of activity in town again. And the zoning officer's report, which has really kind of streamlined. There's certain things that are on there, but it's shortened up quite a bit from the spring. Let's see. We have the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services permit with the not the permit, it's a request for information on the permit, which I alluded to as being handled by the folks up at HEB. I was in contact with them on that issue. Signature folder, again, why do we have that twice?
Because
Okay,
we're efficient. We want to make sure we cover everything.
the second version has that document in it for Lakes Region. Okay, good. We have a request to Eversource to shut off 12 streetlights. I thought you were shooting for more. Wow.
No, I'll go over the cover on that here.
Okay, good enough. So we'll be hearing more on that. We have a notice, timber, notice of intent for timber harvest. And let's see, our action folder, we covered already about the plowing issue on Stillings Lane. Administrators' comments, we can do that, Audrey.
The phone upgrade went fairly smoothly. I learned that the building has Cat 6A cabling, and either the phone company or the IT company had the right tools to make the connectors, I guess, are the same, but it's a tool that puts the wiring into them. So
Pretty cool.
yeah, they had to strip several wires to be able to do what they needed to, which was a challenge.
So just so we're clear, in our early discussions on the proposal with that, we told them we were going to be running Cat 6A throughout the building.
Okay.
So should not have been a surprise.
Well, they got them all done, it was Townsend, they got them all done, with the exception of one of the lines to the police station. That line is the one that gets forwarded to Carroll County, and that still works, and we tested it. So it just means that they don't have a second line in the police station if they needed to make 2 outgoing calls.
And why wasn't the second one hooked up?
Because they couldn't get the connector working. They did get it partly, and then it would, so they don't know if there's a short in the
No, it's not a short, it's actually connectivity. I did my whole house that way, and I did like 150 of those, so.
So Brian said you
I know
might
it's-
have the tool.
I do, actually, I'm in the
So
truck.
maybe you
I'll do it before I leave.
Like that.
I think I want to jump in real quick here with the, I think, because I wasn't here that day, so I didn't physically, observe this, but I think potentially what they have done is kind of just wire knotted or something, things
I can touch
together.
on this.
Oh,
He was
good.
in that
Oh,
movie.
Tom, please.
Yeah, they splice them together and they take
Okay,
electrical tape. Because of it.
So they put the connector ends on it and take it.
And take it.
Yep.
Splice it together.
so,
Same thing we did last year, when we ran the lines out to the police department, exact same thing we did in the utility room and the police station as well.
for the
Same process.
long haul though, those ends should probably be redone.
They okay. As long as they're locked, the wires are locked in place. And if they take them, there's no way the lock can pop off.
What, actually, well, that's what I'm not clear on. Were
Okay,
these
I'll look
just,
at it, I'll look at it before they
were these just twisted together
No.
or were they,
punch downs.
okay, is the connectors the important?
They should have, they either put the wires in and clamp something down, that's one connector, or they physically punch down the 8 wires and put a locking cover on top of it. There's only 2 ways you can use that, set that wire up.
So you can look at what they did.
Yeah.
So, just so I'm clear, so if they had the correct end though, they would have went right into the wire, we would have known when they would have crimped. Right?
Yeah, with the tool. They're
Then
gonna
they
have
wanted
the
to
tool.
tape, nothing, there would be no splicing.
Well, I would always put the tape on it anyway, because you're not dealing with something that was originally part of the wire. Tape is just like a fail safe.
Yeah, the tape does dry out.
Yep.
And then it unravels, and then you got exposure. That's
Well,
my
I
experience.
haven't had that with electrical tape, but unless somebody's yanking on the wire,
Mm.
it's not gonna come out. You can't, it's just locked down.
I guess my final question is it the right way? Is it the way what we paid for? I guess that'd be my-
I will look at it to see what they
Okay,
did,
thanks.
but, I
You might
mean,
need to wait. till
there was some
Thursday
full
to
fair
make it
disclosure on
happen.
that one up front, because we mentioned that up front, we were wiring with that wire.
Yeah,
So to come unprepared is like,
and hearing that, now I think that if there is taking, there is correct connectors, then we should get what we paid for and have them come
should
back
have
out
an issue
here
at all.
and redo it with the proper That was,
Audrey, you said something, I couldn't hear it. What did you?
We might need to have Joe to get back there to look at it, because I don't think we've access to the police area.
Oh, that's true. too.
I believe you'll be on at one.
Okay.
Okay,
That was my latest communication.
all right, I'll reach out to him today then, and then, meet him down there.
I guess my concern is a little more in line with Tom's. It's like if there's an absolute right way and splicing
Do it. the right way.
multiple, splices is not making me feel
All they did
warm.
was, they should have put connector ends on each one of them. And if they did that, it plugs straight in. So I don't know what they ended up doing, so.
Yeah, they have all of them done except for that one, that was an issue,
Okay,
okay, and they just couldn't get it, like,
yes, because they probably didn't have a testing tool to make sure they had it.
no, he did, and he'd get it, and then it would go loose, so they didn't know if it was a break somewhere. So,
It's hard to imagine.
I'm
the
with
procedure.
you know, he
I'm
got,
with that.
he got,
It's, they didn't have the wires in all the way.
he got 10 out of 11.
I lived with that one first,
Um,
but I'll see if I can
okay,
go out and address it.
and then the other one is the drop in this room. I have a call into Jeremy to find out if he can help us find out where it terminates. I'm thinking it might terminate in the little hub that's in my room, in my desk. So they might have been looking for it on this switch in the other room, and really it might drop near me.
Right.
So I need to find out where that drops, and then we can get it set up.
So I haven't seen the connections yet either, but my experience with doing anything with wiring is just a direct connector. The way it's supposed to be is what my comfort level tends to
When you
be.
when you buy the wire,
Yeah.
you gotta put an end on it,
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
and that's all it is.
Right,
That's all they did. But that end has 8 wires they have to play with, and they go in a certain order. And they have to be set up and connected properly, otherwise you get the intermittent play. I've had this happen at the house.
no, I understand, and I've wired phone system
Yeah.
stuff before. My concern is just there's multiple connectors in the line. That's a bother to me.
Well,
When
there
you
should-
have
there
to
should
do
be-
it is one thing, when
there
you
should
don't
be-
have to do it,
Yeah, there should be the connector on this end here,
no,
and the connector on that end of the box.
Right.
That should be the only connectors. There
right,
shouldn't have been cuts in the wires and then
that's,
redoing, there shouldn't have been any of that. There was no need for any of that.
the only one that's not like that.
He had
is
run
mine.
like 7 or 8 feet of extra wire.
Yeah, the only one that's not like that is mine, because my computer is so far from where it plugs into the. So, but they have, a coupler, it's working, it's fine.
all right.
I'll take a look at it.
We'll review this to
I'll
see
take a look.
where everybody's
I'll take a
comfort
look at it.
level is.
Okay.
All right.
And we're
Okay.
also getting a quote, for a couple of headsets, so we don't have to, be tethered. And it also helps with sharing offices, so you're not hearing everything else going on.
Well, what was the verdict on portable phones? Is that not an option?
Oh, I didn't ask that,
Okay.
they're nice phones,
Yeah.
they're just, if you're on a long conversation on a computer, it's nice not to be like that.
I guess having used headsets in the past too, my only concern with buying anything that we haven't utilized is volume and clarity.
Mhm.
Because I have a decent enough headset, but sometimes it's just the volume isn't there, depending on your connections, whatever. So I'd be looking for a really,
I'd rather get it through them, through Consolidated, rather than order it off Amazon. So I know
Oh.
that it's totally compatible with their phone.
I'm not trying to say where to buy it.
No,
I'm
I
just saying
totally
whatever
agree.
we get, we should
Yeah.
make sure that the clarity is
Yeah.
there. Part of what I'm seeing that the headset would do is when you're in these smaller offices and there's multiple conversations going on, as there tends to be, the headset will filter out a lot of the noise. But it also has to be clear enough with whatever's going on that you're actually being able to conduct that conversation. And that's my biggest concern. I have used headsets before, and just saying I got a headset isn't always the solution. You've
Right.
got to get a headset that really functions well. The audio, you're just not going, it's not going to be worth it. Okay, so the
It'll probably
portable,
be a next year thing.
okay, well, that's coming up quickly, so. The portable aspect was my other concern because we didn't have phones that tethered you to your desk before, because of the nature of often Chris or others would have phones in this room, because the staff isn't always in there to answer the phone, or they travel. So, but I guess that's something that could be asked maybe, or no, is that too
Yeah,
late?
no, I can ask if there's different phones.
Right, well, what would,
Yeah.
do you find that folks would have a preference in the office?
We tend to have a team meeting on Wednesday morning, so I'll ask.
Great, okay.
All of the calling has been set up the way I emailed you last week, so, Deanna, Gwen, and I have numbers, and if we call you, you're gonna see the published number, 7770, or Deanna's published number. But if you wanna call us, we all have, direct dials now.
Great.
And, Gwen and I can answer Christine's phone, and, but if you were to call our direct numbers, you can't answer our phone or go to our voicemail.
Okay, that's great, that's a good improvement. I know that was always a problem in the past.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's multiple lines now, we can all call out on.
It goes right to that portable phone. I called in, I got Gwen one side of the building, and she's running looking for you.
Right,
Which-
yeah.
Super.
Yeah, they like that, I think they like the, it's almost like an intercom, like I can call, like 12 and I'm talking to Gwen, so it's kind of like that,
Okay,
yeah.
Oh.
And the transfer worked well, you got the transfer going yesterday?
Hold, music.
I'll work on the music.
well, it comes down to what you folks find the best functionality, and that's great. Whatever works for you guys is all I'm looking to have happen here. I would say I've called the line and been put on hold a few times, and I have commented about the elevator music, the piano music. And usually when I call, these days you call any of these companies and they put you on hold, and after a while, I find myself getting more annoyed, more than usual, with music that is trying to make me be soothed. It's that annoying piano music that probably riles me up more than anything.
So very
No,
Led Zeppelin,
it's
I
when
think
they
you have to
repeat
put
it the
Led
third,
Zeppelin on
fourth,
there.
or fifth time.
Can we get a compilation package? So, what's that song?
Oh, Zeppelin.
Yeah, I would be good with something a little more upbeat, but anyway. What else you got there, Ozzy? I'm sorry.
We have a quote from Avatar for Avatar assessing internet kiosk, online data hosting, and, I guess it's something we've never had before. It's a brand new proposal. Because I was asking, Gwen and Deanna, is this something we have? Is this something we asked for?
So I can answer that. Earlier this year, the zoning officer and others have pointed to this service that we don't provide. The rationale behind it is when people file for applications at our land use boards or with Rebecca, they don't have access anymore to property information because it's back here at the end of the hallway, so people can't actually come in. We had considered this in the past because it's just easier than making people drive over here, but it was an expense.
Mhm.
So we had a quote earlier in the summer, and during our budget time there, we didn't see that we really could take advantage of it because it was more expensive than we had considered it would be. So what I did is a few weeks ago, I asked for an updated contract price so that we could look forward going into next year. And as part of our budget talks here at the board, we saw that we had funding that we could make available within our budget and not drive the budget up and do this. So what is the price on that?
It's $18.37, and if you want the map bundle configuration, it's another $8.26.
And it's
So 2,400, 2,600.
2,600, and it's pretty consistent. They had 2,663 on the last one, if I recall.
You want to pass it in? Yeah.
So we could discuss this at some point in a work session or whatnot, or just outright make that decision depends on where everybody is on it. Nothing really seems to have changed. So,
No, I mean, the fact that the office is not likely to be open for another several months,
yeah,
we've gotta be able to make the accessibility better for our citizens, so I'm in favor of it.
Tom, how do you feel about this?
Is this the same thing Rebecca was looking for too? Does that
Yes.
coincide with all that? Yeah, it was gonna make everybody's easier and more convenient, like Chuck just said, then I'll go with it.
Yeah, I ran into a few things on the land use board when our butters weren't being captured, and it was problematic for the public. So, and that's part of why I was kind of looking at our budget going forward to try and make this an availability. It just seems to be a convenience matter, and I don't, like Chuck said, I think we're at a point we really don't have a lot of choices. It's affecting people in the town.
Right.
All right then, with that, I'll make a motion to sign this so that we can take advantage of this starting first of the year, if it's available then. All right?
Hot second.
Okay,
All right,
all right, all in favor, aye.
is there an effective date on that, Mike?
I don't know, I just know in conversation, I asked them to, it was in consideration of our budget cycle. And having worked with them, they know that they're on a budget cycle with us year to year all the time.
So this will allow the public to access exactly what?
Tax map.
It'll allow,
Property cards?
it'll allow to go on the tax maps and get your abutters information so you can list it. It should give you all of your property information. Does it actually include the property cards? I'm thinking it does. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it did, but
But we-
to answer
we
your
can
question, I
request-
want to make sure. Complete assessment information available without subscription to the public. Yeah, complete assessment information and helps to reduce requests made in person at the municipal office for copies of assessment cards. So. All right. So that is being signed. Audrey, did you have other stuff?
No, that's it.
All right. Tom, take it away.
All right, finally after telephone tag with Eversource, I spoke with them on the streetlight issues. There was a couple questions on it last week. The cost to shut off, or there is no cost to shut them off. They normally take down the lights right off the poles when they do shut them down. However, we can request in the letter, pass it up, you guys have it. That we want to leave the lights actually on the poles for a while to see if this project is even right for the town. Safety,
Yep.
And, it might be, well, let's throw that one on, but we can check, we can throw this one over here, seeing the difference with leaving the post on, that way we won't be charged. We want to turn something back on. The lights will still be there. And, they needed a letter signed by all of us. Well, I spoke with Randy on the firehouse, because I know Chuck, you had a concern about those two lights in front of those two firehouses. I need to get in touch with Jeremy, the electrician, because Randy says he has no problem shutting those lights off, because they don't need them just as long as there's lights on the building that.
Yeah, and if we're willing to basically say, let's put some LED spots up there,
Right.
and even make them motion detector spots,
So,
and that's actually gonna be much less expensive long-term for the town,
yeah,
because the LEDs are less expensive to run.
What about dawn to dusk? That way it's.
We can do that too.
Well, you had a concern about
I do.
visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
identifying-
actually, and I did have a patron apparently listened to last week,
Mhm.
wrote me an email, basically said, at all hours of the day and night, mostly in the nighttime after dark, there's all kinds of cars pulling into that station up on the hill.
Mm.
Doesn't know what it's, they're there and then they leave, they're there and then they leave. But he said, his recommendation was very similar to mine, either leave the light or put something on the sides of the building, so if somebody's there, they get to see it, so.
Right.
Dawn to dusk works better for me,
Yeah, that's where I was.
and do it with the LEDs and do it on, the couple sides of the building where you get doors.
I like the dawn to dusk on the main fire station. The other one, I think that, like you say, a lot of people just pull it in.
Yeah.
But once they pull in, if that sensor picks them up and the lights come on, there's more of a shot they're gonna turn around and get the heck out of there if they don't have business there.
Actually, I think the dawn to dusk on the side and on the front face of that building would work, for illumination purposes, because I think I could speculate on why traffic stops here. And it's not for nefarious reasons. It's, that's where your self-service is. Once you go through the top of Lord's Hill and start down the hill, you lose all cell coverage. So I think most people stop there because it's a convenient place to finish the phone call that they're having, while they're on the road. I know myself, if I continue down Hobbs Road, I lose cell service. So I'm often one of those vehicles that pulls in there to do town business. After I leave here, I'll get up to there and I'll stop at that parking lot before I go further.
And the patron didn't have a problem with that, it was the nighttime activity on the part of the day. So the comment was specifically addressed to after darkness,
Okay.
the volume of traffic that goes in there. But if it's a motion detector or it's a dawn to dusk, that'll solve it, and it'll be cheaper for the town in the long run.
Okay.
All right. Out front here, the municipal building, there's two, they're not a street light, but they act like a street light. I think we have there's two of them up there. One's been shut off for a while now, but we've been using one. I don't know if it'd be Jeremy or Eversource that would come out. My idea is to take the one that we've had shut off anyway, right along, because we only need one out there. Take that off and install it out back for the parking lot, out back, for the employee parking lot.
Yep.
That's all you got. I don't know, I'll talk to Eversource, leave here, see if they do that, or if it's something Jeremy does.
It would be cheaper if we had our people do it.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I'll call Jeremy first then.
Yeah, fine.
Ask her if
Get
he
his
does.
feedback on that, on what that would be.
Mhm.
And if need be, if we can erect it ourselves, I actually have a 30-foot telephone pole that I'm not using.
You're not using it?
No, I've decided
That's
that,
surprising.
no, Grace's treehouse has gotta go someplace
Oh.
else. But I've got one that we could use. It's one I've had for 8 or 10 years, and it's been sitting on my stone wall, so.
I figure we could probably, see if that's something that Ron could set in conjunction with.
Just run underground wire and then run it up the side and put a light on it and put a nice LED.
Run some schedule 40 or maybe 80. and
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, if it wasn't a street light, if it was more like the light that the storage units use, then it would be private and we wouldn't have a monthly charge.
Right, and that's why, I don't know if these, we own these two lights out front here, or, because it's completely different from anything else that Eversource has that I could.
Right.
Are they on our building? I can't remember.
No, they're on the pole directly across from us, two of them. The town shut one off.
Okay.
You know when they shut that off?
Well,
We want going,
let's
because we
find
don't
out.
need that either, because we got the motions out front here.
I would say the other thing here is, you might take some consideration on what you want for a fixture out here for lighting. Maybe not need a giant light, but we don't want anything too subtle. We want,
Yeah,
the
no,
quality of light is a,
Yeah, that's what that is, it's a square one, and it's got that tannish
okay,
light to it, or whatever it is, the yellowish.
a soft light.
Right one, yeah.
yeah, the yellowish reduces the insect issues.
Okay,
All right, I had two visits, interactions with two different folks here in town about the letters they got on the junkyards. They both, new letters went out, I believe, on the 30th, according to Rebecca's report, on the 30th, and that's what they're referring to. They are still working on it. They didn't understand because they were working on it, on their yards, and I've seen them. I've been on one, I was invited on one. There's one thing out there I told him that she's concerned with, that needs to go, and that will be out of there in a couple days, a couple weeks, hopefully. It's actually his son's. And the other one, he's working, he says, I got the letter, he says, I've been doing it all, every day that I can. And, with the snow and ice coming, he goes, he was concerned that if he slows down doing it, that there won't be a problem issue. I said, as long as I see you making an attempt, keep going along as much as you can, I get the winter. But it's, there will be follow-ups and so, and they were fine with me. I'll reach out to Rebecca until they reached out to me. It's all good.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that you reach out to Rebecca
Yeah,
and
yeah.
coordinate, the whoever's been talking to you.
Yeah, I've already talked to her last week too, about who contacted me, and I'll follow up again this week with these two fresh faces.
I mean, certainly we'd like to see some changes, but we're not trying to drop a hammer on anybody.
No,
And one of them actually visited me Sunday morning, pretty early.
did you offer coffee?
No, I thought he was bringing donuts, but he didn't, so we left the coffee in the house. So, but it's all good, and that's all I got.
No, it was nice to see Rebecca's report where there's a lot of people are basically
Oh,
making
yeah.
an attempt to clean up
Yeah.
the junkyards.
It seems like a lot of things, like I stated earlier, had taken place this year, because that report was getting multiple pages, things weren't moving. And I know we had a conversation with them to try and get this more in a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day cycle of move it forward. So it looks good.
Looks good.
And by what, I don't mind, reaching out to me at the house or whatever on this, but it just, it shows that they are concerned about it, they're not just brushing it off and just another thing that they, so that was good to see that. And just on the road, the potholes, I know they're filled on School Street, there's one filled over on Green Mountain. I don't know if you guys have seen any others around, but the Evans boys were out doing them.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not aware of any others that didn't get taken care of, and there were some greater operations before the storm took place to kind of just take some of the potholes out of, the areas. But you're gonna come back once the ground softens up. I mean, come in the spring, I don't care what we do before you get into winter. We tried a full-on grading back in 2018 and get the roads as nice as we could, as tight as it was to winter. And it was like hand grenade alley come spring. There was just no winning with it. Is what it is.
So there's a total of 12 lights on that sheet I gave you.
Yep.
That's the letter that's going into Chris. Was nice enough to help me with that yesterday, print it up. And we can send it out. If you guys are all right with it?
Yeah, no problem. In fact, it's just waiting on your signature.
Always the last.
I don't know, last one in, first one out.
Yeah, off to you, Chuck.
All right, there were a certain number of people last fall during the Avatar evaluation process that received little yellow postcards from the Department of Revenue, saying that the Department of Revenue would come out and do a spot inspection of several properties to basically validate the assessing information from Avatar. I had that visit this last week, so the gentleman came out with his tape measure and did his thing, and so it is nice to know that there was a follow-up to that entire process like they said they were going to do. COVID put them behind, I get it, so he said, but we're out doing all of them, so. I gave you all a copy of what we think will be the annual report cover picture. They're gonna clean it up just a little bit more, that's the initial take off the video feed. And then, I've asked them to try and take as many of the shadows out as they can, so.
Is that you in the window waving?
Nope,
No.
nope.
You should have been up in the bell tower.
Yeah, I waited, yeah.
Yeah, very tough.
Nope, all set with that. Yeah, so I should have the final photo on that within a week or so. Chris forwarded out an email from the NRRA regarding the technology vendor picking up our computers and TVs and things like that that are going to recycling. They had 8 or 10 questions, I've answered the 8 or 10 questions, sent them back to Chris, she's forwarded them over. One of the questions was a request to also type up some signage that we have to put on each of the gaylords inside the container, when they pull them out, so that's been done, and we've got those, I'm gonna bring them down later today, so.
Excuse me.
So I put, yeah,
Can I touch on this again?
go for it.
1 second. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Now, we're gonna have a color. Is this gonna be colored on in the report? Is that what you're thinking?
that's what I was thinking, but.
There was one year, I don't remember when it was, you might, you attended up, that they were gonna do a report in color, but the price was astronomical, just switching something to color. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it is more costly.
If you do the entire report in color, yes,
But just
but
one,
the cover
yeah.
is a separate print because it's
Oh,
a
okay.
different paper.
Yeah.
So I know we need to ask the question, but I'm gonna guess it's a whole lot less because the cover is actually printed in one shot and the other part of the report is printed
Okay.
in another shot, and then it's about.
Yeah, it just dawned on me, I heard that.
Yep.
I had one meeting.
No, we gotta check it out. I mean, definitely gotta check it out.
So, on that, I know that, and I don't know how this happened last year, but we got blue for a color, which is nice enough, but I think for print purposes, we're going back to white. Does that make sense? Because that picture is gonna
Go and
white.
pop on white.
Yeah, so, okay, just, touching on a few of those, and we'll get a price in from Minuteman, I think shouldn't be a problem, we have the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, we can email it up to Rick and basically ask him, what's the impact of pricing?
Yep.
If we did the written part of the report, black and white, we did the cover color.
And I would also say that I was an advocate of cutting back even further on the printed reports last year. And by the number of reports we still had left over, I think that was probably a reasonable thing to consider. And maybe we should do that, maybe go like 200 or whatnot, just.
Well, I think we can add up the boxes, we still got some in this room.
Yeah, I don't know how many are there.
There was a couple of them here earlier.
Yeah.
So, and then with that, you can probably discern where we are from last year's price.
Yep.
To the,
Where we are.
cutting those number of X number of reports should probably offset the printing.
Question on the reports, with COVID and all going on, we're unsure of how everything's gonna unfold until March. That I think needs to be on the agenda too, about how you distribute the reports if no one, if there isn't.
Well, we haven't worked with the town's moderator yet to have the discussion on just what we're looking to do. I know that there's been a little bit of consideration as trying to hold, if allowable, the meeting in the school. That's hinging on whatever requirements the state has to abide by for assemblies, and to what the Secretary of State's office is going to accept. And like I said, we have to work with the moderator to see about that. I think we could probably do some social distancing in the space in there, given that the attendance level we've had in the past. And I think there's a potential for a Zoom component for people to be involved that way. So there again, if you even had less people attending because they could attend remotely, it might work out. So I don't think we have enough answers yet to really,
It just needs to go on the list. when it comes
Oh,
time.
yeah, it's coming up pretty quick, so.
So that's a good segue into the note Deanna just passed me, to see if all or any of you are interested in attending a Zoom meeting Wednesday night with the Secretary of State for elected officials. She needs to request an invite to each board member. Town meeting and election is fast approaching.
What time is that?
Wednesday at 6:30.
And that's like tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
So,
so she just passed us, so
yeah,
we have to let Deanna know if you want to attend. And it might
definitely.
touch on these things.
We would like the invites.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm with it.
Yes, Tom?
I think I see.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I had, as part of the streetlight conversation, I thought to bring this up, but I had somebody ask me, are any of the streetlights in an area from a drivability or visibility standpoint where school bus stops might be impacted in the nighttime or after dark hours?
I didn't look at the school,
Well,
I didn't look at the school bus stops. I mean, I quick look, because a lot of people have a hut out there for the kids to sit in, but the majority of parents pull up and sit there in their car with their kids.
Okay,
That's, at the intersections, what I can tell you is, if there was a light at an intersection, I left it on. We left it on. Bad corners, we left them on. Anything that could even possibly be a safety issue, it was left on. There was one I was having in Harlem, but there was a corner there, and I just felt it needed to be left on because coming into the corner.
Yep.
So, and this, like I said, by leaving the lights on the poles, it gives us the opportunity down the road, if things change for whatever reason, we can, without a bigger
put them
cost.
on, yep.
yeah, I would think I don't believe the bus stops have ever been targeted for street lights.
But I didn't know, and it's like, I thought it was a good question, it's like. I
No,
had
no,
idea.
It's a good question, but I'm pretty sure there's been no intent to place streetlights where bus stops are located, as to the best of my knowledge, because I know where some of those stops are, that they conjugate a lot of folks from an area, and that for a lot of them do not have streetlights.
Okay.
Maybe not all of them. The other thing is that with the state road impact, when there's a town road hitting a state road, not all of our roads have streetlights. So there are some that have them, and whether they're actually a necessary item is debatable in my mind. Like at Stevens Road, it's fairly flat, but there is a streetlight there. Is it necessary? I don't know. I'll defer to whatever Chuck's findings has been. I know he's been out at night driving and looking at those. The other thing is a lot of our roads just clearly don't have them at intersections.
Yeah.
And in the case of state on state roads, we don't regulate those, so that's not our thing, so.
Okay,
We don't get to play in that field.
And if there was an issue, like I said,
yeah,
we have put back on.
depends on what we're doing.
Right.
Okay, cool, that'll work for people. The L-chip grant process, what I'm putting the pending paperwork together, one of those items that we need to adopt as a board is the stewardship plan for that particular property. Years ago, they just politely asked that, people be cognizant of the fact that, putting money from grants from L-chip into a project, people would automatically take care of the project from that point forward. Now they're actually looking for written guidelines on what we're gonna do in the ongoing maintenance of the building. So what I did is L-chip provided me 4 different samples of 4 different other projects, 2 of which were from towns. And I took that information and popped it into a document. It is a 4-page document. And but basically spells out the simple things like, yeah, we're gonna continue to use the building. Yes, we're gonna continue to maintain the building. Yes. So really it's something that they want to see in writing that we need to have from part of the town. So
Okay.
I'm gonna need to basically have us vote on that and adopt it today or next week.
All right,
I sent it out ahead of time to everybody. I didn't know if anybody got read it or not.
I didn't really go through it because I just haven't had time to go through all my emails.
Okay,
Um,
we'll do it next week.
I just opened up this form.
Okay, and Chris was kind enough to print it out, that item. So you got it in your handouts right there. And, Chris, did everybody get one?
I believe it was just one, wasn't it?
Ah, then it was just me. I'll give it to Mike.
You want me to run any copies?
Hey, we will before we leave.
Well, yeah.
We'll do one more at a time. The other thing that needs to happen is I want to review this at the next, planning session we have next week. an adoption agreement, for the land trust standards and practices. It's required of all conservation projects in the state where they get any kind of money. And it's a lot of reading to it because it's a federal standard, but it's been summarized and they've given you the summary documents, which have also been printed for you there. As to what that's about. And it's a 20-paragraph adoption. It basically says, yep, we'll make our attempt to follow the standards on the 30 townhouse road project. So it's not a blanket for the whole town. So if we can review that next week, superb. And the historic town hall monthly meeting is normally the third Wednesday of the month. This month rather, which is the 16th. Chris Garcia from Cobalt Construction Management is going to discuss the proposals we've gotten in from the vendors from phase 1. Originally, I had sent out a quick notice to the project team, library, and selectmen about an in-person meeting rather, face meeting. But I've received some feedback from Don, I think with the COVID numbers going up and Effingham, that I might want to look at another alternative. So I've got to work on that. It'll probably be a dial-in of some kind to have that discussion. I just need to pull that together the next day or two.
Excuse me, fire warden's here to sign the paper, do you know about it?
I do. Hopefully I brought it with me, otherwise I'm in trouble.
Should I write it in?
Darn, no, I gotta make sure I got that. Okay, fine. I was scrambling this morning once again, and I may not have left that note.
So Chuck, what was the date of that historical town hall meeting?
The 16th of December, 6 p.m. at the library. But we're probably gonna change it to a Zoom call. I just need to firm that up in the next 24 hours.
So you don't have a time on that?
It's usually 6, we only have it target for 6 to 7:30,
That's on the 16th?
16, yep. But I'll have more information as soon as I figure out.
Have a seat. Yeah.
Hey, Dick, how are you?
I might have left that in my other truck this morning. I have to run out and take a peek, so if you bear with me a minute, I will do that. I can't believe if I don't have it with me, I'll come to you. I'm so sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll take 2
okay.
2 minutes. Go ahead, Ron.
Huh? What'd you do? Really? Oh, that's gotta be.
In 2.5 weeks,
Has it?
I have changed the bandage, not longer.
Yeah, someone come do that, or?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the doctor's with Cronin.
I think this might be unrecorded, so. Why, personal health is.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll let you know.
so I'm just gonna mute it while we take a break.
Okay.
What did you do?
Also,
Oh, wow. It's gonna be all right?
sooner or later.
Oh, really?
Give me a call Wednesday night.
Okay,
That'll jog my memory.
all right. Let me make sure I've got your number in here. I think I do. I'm sure I do.
Yeah, use the house number.
Oh, that's Hanukkah. That's the beginning of Hanukkah.
6370?
Right on board, bud.
All right.
Now everyone's gonna-
Apologize profusely for dragging you out here and being unprepared. I try not to let things
Sorry,
like
dude.
that happen.
I've been around other places the same way.
Yeah. Well,
I don't get,
feeling better there, Dick.
I don't get too shook up anymore. Too old for that.
you know, especially dragging you out on one foot.
I gotta go get it redone anyway,
Oh, yeah.
twice a day.
Twice a day.
Wow.
Keeps you busy, huh?
You know Donna Fry, don't you?
Name sounds familiar.
Over on Mountain Road, she does it for me.
Oh,
Good.
she a nurse?
But very little feeling, because I got yeah, that's what I got in my foot.
Neuropathy? Neuropathy?
Yep.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Well, it'll come to it.
All right.
Long ways from my heart.
Thank you.
Geneva always said I didn't have one, so.
Oh,
Good to
All right,
see
thank you.
Take care.
thank you, Ted.
Happy holidays to all of
Same
you.
to you.
Merry Christmas.
Well, that's embarrassing. It was on my list and everything, and I've got it in that other little thin valise. I am keeping it so it doesn't get bent up and damaged.
I keep telling you, you gotta get the big suitcase on wheels.
God, it's just unbelievable. All right. I'll get back then. Is Dave Strauss coming in on ADMs today, school? Okay. All right then. Right back where we were, Chuck, sorry.
All set?
Oh,
That was the last.
okay, so we got some light reading followed up by some more not so light reading.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad. The reading's pretty easy. I mean, the stewardship thing is straightforward. It's kind of boilerplate language. The adoption for the land standards. More reading, but
Well, it says one of one, and it's clearly not one page. You know, one of four for the first item, so
So
this one,
that's the adoption.
you know,
That was actually the project first I got to deal with. Those are the, on the next page.
okay.
Those are the standards. That's a summary of the standards right there.
All right. Well, put me to sleep at night, will it?
Yeah, it'll take a little while to get through. It's dry.
Okay. All right, with that,
Thank you.
thank you. Something popped up, it's been on my list for a long time, and I never found any real reason to address it, but since you brought something to our attention with the Avatar assessing conversation earlier. This never went out to bid, and the budget committee chairman had discussions on this going back, a month or more ago. And in those discussions, it did come up that we were going to put this out to bid. He was pushing for that. I certainly was agreeable to putting it out. It's part of the policy that we would likely do that for our procurement ordinance. The only problem is the window of opportunity was missed. It was actually last year. No one realized it at the time, because what we had entered into was a contract for reevaluation. And I think that nobody was thinking ahead. So the reevaluation takes place, and that's a big cost. As your 5-year contract, more than 50% of that cost is the revaluation year. That is the year you would have contracted, put it out for bid for that contract. That didn't happen. it went forward and we got a revaluation this year. So this year wouldn't have been the year to do that because it sets the page for the next 4 years. So, that's an issue that was a bit of a hiccup that we would look to change, provided somebody is here, remember, 4 years from now. But with that, on the procurement ordinance, the first page, and I had a problem with this going back in its inception, but the folks at our level at the time didn't want to take the time to fix it. If you have your ordinance, and I know Chuck, you had this one out. Yeah, so it's on the first page. And it is, on yours, it's on the second page, mine copies. No. Right there, I highlighted it for you, top of the page. And Tom, what it is here is at the bottom of the page on my copy, that you'll see that there's a warrant, an RSA, 447:16, I believe. And it's for things going out for bid at a cost of $25,000 or more, is to have a bond and so forth. That actually is incorrect. It was incorrect at that time when this was adopted. If you look under that RSA, the state has a requirement for $75,000 or more. Municipalities, $125,000. So the requirement falls in at 125. So the one is missing.
The 100 part is missing.
So I was going to suggest that we add that to this year's list of warrants to do a housekeeping correction. So if you guys feel that that's appropriate, I'll add that in. Okay. Well, all right, then that'll be a little tickler to take care of.
We need to vote on that, or
No, I wouldn't say so. We'll just add it there, you guys. Board. Make myself a note. Okay, let's see. We took care of these things already.
The number will go from 25,000 to 100.
Signed. I'm not seeing a big movement in back taxes that were prior to this last bill go out. So I think we're still dangerously close to $500,000 in delinquent property taxes, which doesn't do anybody any good when we go forward and try to meet our bills. I just mentioned that. I did have some feedback from some folks conversationally lately. It's the problem of putting yourself out there in the public wandering around where people can just say, you're a selectman, aren't you? So a lot of focus, or a lot of conversation anyway, is on the tax rates and the town's tax rate. So I guess there's a few things here. One gentleman said something about North Conway or Conway, you know, the taxes there are cheaper. And it's like, okay, maybe. Our tax rate, where it is right now, if it $21.25, if you had a $250,000 valuation, right now it'd come out to be about $5,300. You could be in another town where your property value could be $50,000 higher, say at $300,000, and your tax rate could be $18 per thousand. And your tax bill would be $100 more. You'd be at $5,400. So there's a lot on how this works. Values in the town have gone up, I think, for most properties. I know the condition of my property has been neglected as I've been doing things here, and so it should go down, I would think, but it actually went up $77,000, so I've got more equity. Property value's up. But one of the things I did was I went back into the complete public tax rates of 2019, because the new one is not out yet at DRA. And I applied our new tax rate to last year's listings. And in there's some unincorporated places that you really don't, they're at zero amounts and stuff. You throw out some of these items in here out of the 260 that don't really count, and you come out with about 233 towns. Effingham is lower than 154 of those towns for tax rates. And other towns that are lower than us total 79. Like I said, it doesn't tell the whole story though. But your tax rate is actually pretty good shape at the moment. It doesn't negate that we all get pretty good tax bills. And 50% of the town is pretty much in current use or some kind of a conservation and things. So you're gonna tend to have a high tax rate, but you don't have street lights and, stop lights and a lot of congestion like you might find in, well, for example, a Conway or North Conway. So it is where you live and if you're willing to pay to have that rural setting or not. So anyway, just wanted to touch on that because as much as we all got pretty good tax bills, it's, comparatively across the state, it's really not that out of the sync of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think bringing the rate back up closer to 100% of valuation from the mid 80s we had last fall, people would have seen a bit of a jump anyway, but because of COVID, our real estate sales in town have shot through the roof. Property is turning over rather than being 150 to 300 days. It's now more in the vicinity of a week or two, up to a month or two. And in the old days where people were knocking their prices down to sell it, people are coming in right now out of state and they're buying at the asking price, or in some cases I've heard actually above the asking price to be able to purchase the property. So when those real market value sales take place, it has a tendency to move our valuation up in town. That's just one of the contributing factors.
Well, it's, I just look at my valuation. The increase in value would be about $1,600 a year. And if it's not gonna stay absolutely consistent for 5 years, but that'd be over $8,000. My value went up 77,000. So if I was able to sell my property for that increased value, I'd be pocketing $69,000 over the tax bill. It's all relative. And certainly the tax rate dropped considerably. And a lot of people are seeing an offset to that that's beneficial, not everyone. I actually did benefit, I believe, because I was over 10,000. I think I'm in the nines now. But anyway, that's a little bit on the tax bill, and with some concerns we see at the county, that's going to drive things up. Meals and rooms and highway block grants are offsetting to the tax rate. They get built into our tax rate. They're the governor's council, or the governor's budget sets that. So these things are going to get cut back on. So we can anticipate that the town's portion is going to go up. And with that, we're going to do our best to try and offset what we can here. I know we've talked some strategy on the taxation that we have a certain flexibility to try and hold the line where it is, and we're going to try to apply that. The other things, though, you can't counter the school. If the school goes up because of COVID, the tax rate is going to go where it goes. But the town's portion looks like it's fairly manageable for the next couple of years. All right, so that's taxes, unless anybody else has anything else to weigh in on that one.
What's up?
Okay, it's always a big topic. I reached out to our town's attorney a while back, and sent him an email asking for an evaluation, basically as unbiased as possible, because I thought it was in the best interest of the board, and myself and the town, to evaluate how things have been working. I have been the point person with the town's attorney for a few years now, and I just thought that you guys would probably want an update on how that's working out, because we've had a lot of activity in the last few years, to which there's been mediations that have avoided Superior Court. There's some things that have go to Superior Court. There's always something in the works, and there's multiple levels of just involvement on what these things are, whether they're assessing or utility contracts and what have you. So I did ask him to send an open letter and not to spare my feelings if I wasn't performing adequately. So the attorney has sent back this response to that, which is, I'm writing in response to your question a while back concerning how I think things have been going with you as the primary source of the contract for me with the town of Effingham. As you know, for many years, I corresponded with Claudia almost exclusively. So I was used to her way of doing things, but I can say with confidence, you've been a great contact point over the last year or two. Parentheses, I lose track after a while. You are very accessible, and because you're on the Board of Selectmen, you're able to provide me with current information concerning policy and board matters, which is very helpful at times. It also helps that you can serve as the board's barometer at times and tell whether the board would or would not support a particular action, settlement, etc. I also appreciate the perspective you bring to many matters we work on. I know you can get very passionate about some of the items, but you always keep an open mind and engage in thoughtful discussion when we disagree on a course of action. So it's been great to communicate with, and I would certainly recommend keeping this arrangement in place for the time being. He notes that I am up for re-election in March and hopes that I stay on the board. Not only would it be detrimental to the town, but I feel it would put me at a disadvantage when trying to assess town business. So should you gentlemen have any other concerns or questions yourself, please reach out to Matt to find out if things are, in case they're not working to your likings. But I did ask him for an open letter on this matter, because I thought if things weren't going well, we should know about it and address that. So let's see, what else did I have floating around here? We're going to need to address carryovers this year. We're probably a little bit early on this, but I will put this out as a tickler. We're going to have the bridge carrying over the $300,000 on Snow Road over the remainder thereof. I did reach out to Hanson and HEB so that we're going to get contracts hopefully before the year ends, so we can have contract obligations to cover some of this, as well as we'll be making a payment to have prefab work done for the timbers and so forth at Hanson. And HEB is putting together an award letter for us to provide for Hanson services, as well as the contract to be signed. So that's in the works. Assessing, we had a carryover for assessing, and I've spoken with Audrey. She's going to apply 5 payments to that carryover. That should have actually happened first off this year, didn't, so we're just going to shift that over there to take care of that, and that'll leave us with money to be carried over from this year's operating budget on assessing. That contract will push forward to continue paying forward as was the plan years ago. And then Bailey Road is under those services are taking place now, but we will probably, in all likelihood, need to carry over the $900 of interest payments should that be necessary to use.
Because that was a late start based on the governor signing everything late because of COVID, right?
Yeah, it was the governor's council was in mid-October to get approvals. So even though we were ready to go, I think in June, the process was held up until I think it was November when it kicked off. So yeah, we're a little behind on that. The positive news is that we have gotten, they remitted the services some funding, so things are moving. And we hope to have sufficient reporting back from these companies, CMA and all the subcontractors, to put together a grant proposal for implementation with DES from the state. So we could receive about 40% of what it would take to actually take the culverts out and replace them once the whole science of the health of the lake and everything was done. So we'll be pursuing that one. And I did not call Mr. Nason to inquire about the services which you had mentioned were up in our landscaping, I guess we'll call it.
I think it was some of the extra work we had to do, but I just want to check that out to make sure our budget for next year is in line with the real work.
Yeah, and I think it is, we're in budget in that line item of all things that make up municipal buildings. So from the health of that budget line, we're good. We did ask him to do the cleaning on bridges, which in the past we've even used street sweepers to come in and do. That was hundreds of dollars. So that wasn't recognized there before. So that shift would be an offset, as well as we did have him do a lot of work at the transfer station to take some encroaching brush growth. Some kind of nasty bushes were coming in, and they weren't addressed for years on end. So I'm sure that's a cost that probably has gone 7 years unrealized to just manage that came in. So I think we're good on that one, but I will take a harder look at that. Let's see, other than that, I didn't bring anything else, apparently, certainly for Mr. Thompson's benefit. I didn't bring him the paperwork he was looking for. So I think that's it for me, outside of we have a meeting tonight with the budget committee. And I did hear from the office that we have more than $15,000 in a special revenue fund, or will be transferred in through the office, so that those efforts to get offsetting fees down at the transfer station seems to be working about pretty much where we wanted it to be, especially in light of COVID, because we didn't start until after March meeting accumulating these, and then we.
And I actually think we're seeing a reduction in the actual demo now that we're charging a fair price for that. So people aren't bringing it in from other towns and gracefully putting it in our dumpsters to be taken away. So I think we've seen volume drop because people now have to pay.
That's a good point, because when we did do the budget sheets this year, operationally, we were able to offset some salary increases because of that. There's those dumpster costs are less, fewer are going out. So yeah, and it was a balance, right? Actually, we're down $1,000 in cost from a budget standpoint last year to this year, which is pretty good. So, but that's it. That's all I have outside of whatever's left on our agenda. So no non-publics this week.
Nope.
There's a scheduled meeting on the 8th, be at 9 a.m.
The 15th is our next meeting.
It has here the 8th, which is today, so via Zoom, okay.
The Zoom meeting is published on the website. They have to contact us so that they have the link to it that lets us know who's coming in, and so we can see. Right now we have Gwen and government oversight, and they can see everything. We should be able to put it up on YouTube this week.
Good.
Super.
Get a link. Yeah.
Thank you so much, because we've been pursuing this since like April to try and get this out the door into the public. And it's been a big push and consolidated, and every possible delay has, well, we found it.
It's a factor of the times we're in.
All right, anybody else, anything else?
Nope.
Done, before 11 o'clock.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
For a second. All right.
All right, with that, we'll put an end to our misery. We're out of here.
Okay, so you have to end the meeting.
No, not your reading.